Hey, everybody. It's great to see you guys here on LinkedIn Live here with Becker Logistics and Jim Becker. I've been going around and really just getting to know a lot of other people in this industry. And I have to tell you, there are so many people that are influencers, and there's a great gentleman by the name of Adrian. He is an influencer, and he's been out there really doing great things here with Becker Logistics and with other companies, large and tall, big and wide. He's been around really talking transportation and logistics and how it's really making an impact here in the United States. So, without any further ado, it's better for him to introduce himself than me. Adrian, tell us a little bit about you, your company, what you do, and when you got started, and what's your favorite hobby?
Well, Jim, thanks for having me on the program. So yeah, I mean, I'm one of those folks that kind of fell into, the whole supply chain logistics industry. My background is actually I'm a material science engineer by education, and started my career at Motorola working in semiconductors. So I was wearing the whole bunny suit in the clean room making chips there where you are today in Arizona. That's where I started my career. And anyway, I did a variety of different supply manufacturing and new product development roles at different companies, and then kind of shifted careers and ended up at a market research and analyst firm called ARC, and that's where I really started learning about supply chain logistics. One of the first projects I was put on was to do a market study on transportation management system software, which I knew nothing about when I first got started. But I did the project, I did the market study, and like they say, the rest was history. I spent the next 12 years there, ultimately leading the supply chain logistics research there, particularly in transportation management. And then over 10 years ago, I launched my own company, Adelante, focused on helping to educate the market on supply chain logistics. So I still keep my industry analyst hat on. And probably the most visible aspect of what we do is Talking Logistics, which is our online video talk show and blog to help educate the market on emerging trends in supply chain logistics, technology and services and regulations and things of that nature. We also have a market research arm called Indago, which is a supply chain community of practitioners that we do market research with just about every week. We send out a survey to that community and get some results on, again, topics that are top of mind for executives. So basically been an industry analyst and looking at this industry for the past 22 years, 12 of which at my former employer and 10 of which as part of my company Adelante.
Well, that's awesome. Adelante, that started 10 years ago. Is that how you got started talking about logistics, starting with the forming of this new company that you started 10 years ago?
Well, like I said, I started 22 years ago, actually looking at logistics with my former employer. So I kind of developed, a following within the broader supply chain community as an industry analyst. And that's where I kind of got my feet wet, if you will. Right around 2008, I started blogging, and that became kind of a new avenue. And it's a platform that I just love, because it provides just a little bit more freedom in terms of being able to communicate what's happening in the industry. And then so started 2008 doing some blogging. Then one day while I was cross country skiing, I was thinking about, okay, what's next? And the idea popped into my head. Said, how crazy would it be to launch an online video talk show on supply chain logistics? And so we ended up launching Talking Logistics in 2013. So it's been 8 years now since we've done the video episodes, but it's been about 13 years since I've been blogging, and then again 22 years overall looking at the market and what's happening in the industry.
Well, that's just so awesome. I really like your Talking Logistics and in Dago, I believe that you call it. I just want to make sure I got that right. And it's really cool to watch someone really just step into it from blogging, and being in transportation and then being pulled into it and actually doing, the casting and interviews and really the market research. That's really interesting too. I'd like to hear more about that. Can you tell us a little bit more about the market research?
Sure. I mean, I think that, so market research is something I've been doing, all along. We ended up launching Indago to kind of change the model, a little bit. A lot of what I would say the challenges with market research is, I mean, I know personally I get probably 3 or 4 emails a week about taking some other, some survey. But so it's very fragmented. Sometimes you don't know who's taking the survey. Somebody might just sign up and say, yeah, they're a VP of transportation, but they're signing in with a Gmail address, and maybe they're just a software vendor or a 3PL or a consultant or somebody else, and they're just filling in the survey to get the results. So what we decided to do is, let's build a curated and validated community where people actually have to apply to be a member. And so all of our members are practitioners from manufacturing, retail, and distribution companies. We validate that they are who they say they are. And then what we do is we send them what we call a micro survey every Monday. So these are about maybe 3 questions. Doesn't take them more than 4 minutes to respond, and it's on some timely and relevant topic. We send out the survey on Monday. On Thursday, we close it. On Friday, everybody gets the results, and we do it all over again with a different question, different topic the following Monday. And the neat thing is, number one, it's free to join for the practitioners. It's confidential, so nobody knows who each other are, and we don't distribute, or share the membership with anybody. But there's a charity component to it as well. So when you apply to be a member of Indago, we've aligned ourselves with 5 charities: JDRF, American Cancer Society, Make-A-Wish, Feeding America, and Allen, the American Logistics Aid Network. So you pick one of those charities, and then you earn money for every survey that you take, all these practitioners. And when they reach $25, we donate it to the charity of their choice. So, the tagline is, research with purpose. And it's a kind of a win-win. The members get, value-added research and insights in terms of what their peers are thinking about and their perspectives on these topics. And then at the same time, making a difference via these charity donations.
Oh my gosh, Adrian, I love it. I mean, when we talk about charity efforts and really making a difference and giving back to the community, that is so huge. Number one, you're asking for information, and it's all about bringing that information together. And the more data that you have, the more that data tells you. And one way of doing that is a win-win, is some way of giving back to the community. How long have you been doing this charitable philanthropy?
So with Indago, it's been 2 years. We launched a little bit over 2 years. We launched in March of 2019. We've got close to 100 members right now. Quite frankly, I was hoping that we would have several hundred members, by now. But like I said earlier, I mean, it's been a little bit difficult, breaking through all the noise out there, right? Because people have to first understand why Indago is different and what we're doing, right? And but at the same time, I think, of the members that we do have, they are getting great value. And again, we've made over, I forget the specific number, but over the past 2 years, something like $6,000 in charitable donations, which has been great. The other aspect, in terms of charities, it kind of started earlier in 2016, where we formed yet another different arm of what we do, which is a cycling team called Logistics Leaders for Type 1 Diabetes Cure. And that one had that started because my oldest daughter, back in 2011, was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at age 11. So as I was thinking about what can I do or what can we do to help find a cure for this, I got the idea in 2016 to put together a team of supply chain logistics professionals that like to cycle. And that became Logistics Leaders for T1D Cure. And we got some great sponsors, software companies and 3PLs that sponsored the team, and riders from those companies that participated. And so we've been doing that since 2016, and we've raised over $254,000 for JDRF since that time. JDRF being the charity that is focused on research for finding a cure and new ways to manage type 1 diabetes.
Well, Adrian, I just have to acknowledge you. I mean, the efforts of going out, the humanitarian aspect of things that you and your organizations are doing is huge, and it's gone really, really far. Nice job. Congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, I get, it's one of those things that, it spices things up, right? So this is a great industry. I think one of the great things about the supply chain logistics industry is that even though we talk a lot about technology and regulations and everything else, at the end of the day, it's a people business. And I think all these charitable efforts that we've been able to do is really powered by the relationships that I've been able to develop over the years, and really it just speaks to the type of folks that are part of this industry. Because I mean, there are others. I mean, when I look at some of the companies I work with, just about every company that I work with has some kind of charitable relationship, and things that they're doing with their employees, supporting local charities or causes that are important to them. So I think, I'm not unique in that sense. I think overall the logistics industry plays a big role in improving the lives of the communities that they operate in, and not only here in the U.S. but around the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we started a social promise also in a charity. Myself, for both my wife and I, we started Jenna's Foundation. And we started that in memory of our first daughter. She passed away in 2009, and June 2nd, actually, yesterday, 2009. So we put together this foundation to really make an impact and to give back to the community. And what Becker Logistics did is they launched Humanity for the Homeless. So we really made an impact that every single shipment that we ship, we're able to feed 4 homeless people each and every day. And we average anywhere from 280 to 350 loads a day that we're handling for our customers. So I can get behind what you're doing, my friend. It's just, and it really helps our customers realize what's going on. It helps our employees realize and how they can make an impact as well. And it just takes leaders like us to really say this is important, and we need to give back.
Wow, well, what a great way to honor the memory of your daughter. And yeah, I mean, I think we all get so caught up in our day to day, right, with the work and everything else. And sometimes it's important to take a step back and kind of look at the bigger picture and say, hey, is there a way that, based on what we're doing, what we're focusing on day in and day out, is there a way that we could also make a difference in things that are bigger than us? And I think that's, sometimes we don't pick our charities or our causes. If my daughter hadn't been diagnosed with type 1, I don't know if I would be involved with, advocating for type 1 diabetes research. But that's how, the twists and turns that life takes us in. And certainly that's something I've become passionate in, and hopefully we'll find a cure, in my lifetime. And but in the meantime, it's also a fun way to engage with my clients and engage with the people I work with to participate in these efforts.
Absolutely. And it's great. Really, really love that part. And how I found you was going into podcasts and seeing you and talking about and doing things and how people are doing things, and how long have you been doing these podcasts? It's pretty interesting.
We launched Talking Logistics in January of 2013. So it's been over 8 years now, and all the video episodes get converted into podcasts, into the audio aspect. So they're on on iTunes, so people can consume it there. I mean, I would say that when we first got started, particularly on the video side in 2013, I don't know if there was anybody else that was, quite frankly, was doing it, and quite frankly, the technology really wasn't ready for prime time yet. I mean, even today, it's still a little bit challenging sometimes, but certainly in 2013, the technology and even just the broadband access that people had, so we had our fair share of technical glitches here and there, in those early days. But yeah, so it's been 8 years. I think, certainly there's a lot more folks, involved with podcasting and doing video. Obviously, you yourself of getting involved, and I'm certainly happy to be part of this program as well today, and which I think is great. I think the more people that are talking about this industry, it's only good for the industry, right? It creates awareness among the general population. It creates awareness about with students and young professionals that might be interested in a career in supply chain logistics. So I think the more folks that are talking about it and helping educate the market, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we started our network promise 3 years ago in 2018. And so that network promise was, how do we give information back to the community for free? Somehow, some way, our promotion was to give something away for free. And what best is really talking to employees, people graduating from college, people that are entrepreneurs or managers, people that need direction, that would like to learn a little something about business or logistics, and how could they further that. And we just started coming up with great ideas that has really helped our company grow, that's helped me move as a leader, especially going from a technician in logistics to a manager in logistics to an entrepreneur in logistics. These are three essential platforms or steps that you have to get through in order to be very successful. And how do you get that information back out? And podcasts and getting information out there in a fun, deliverable way is a great way of doing it. And you got to do it. I mean, that's how I feel. It's just part of who I am, that it's my way of giving back and making a difference in the world.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's also, this is an industry where you have to continuously learn, right? I mean, because things change so quickly, and the best way to learn, in my opinion, is through peer-to-peer learning and networking, right? Talking to others, in the industry. So one of the values that I get, in doing these episodes is, whenever I talk to, whether it's practitioners or folks from the 3PL industry or folks from the technology industry or academics, I always learn something from those conversations, right? Or they may change my mind about something. I may go into a conversation, with a particular perspective or idea or viewpoint, and they make me think about that topic a little bit differently than I have in the past. And I think that's where, this platform, this venue, whether it's video episodes, podcasts, they're an extension of, what you get at conferences, right? But here you can consume them at your own time. You've got a much greater variety. And again, at the end of the day, it's about, getting different perspectives and learning, because I think the only way that you're going to continue to be successful in this industry is to keep a pulse on what's happening and get as many different perspectives and advice and insights from as many people as possible.
Absolutely. Now, out of all those podcasts that you've done, and you've been doing this a lot longer than I, what is your favorite one?
Wow. That's a good question. I don't know if I can just pick one. I mean, it's been literally hundreds of episodes. What I do like is when I bring a new guest onto the program, my first question is always, hey, how did you get into this industry to begin with? And I just love listening to the stories and how folks got their beginnings in this industry. And, just like myself, like I mentioned earlier, I started out in engineering, semiconductors, and ended up what I'm doing today. Just recently, I had a guest who's working at a leading supply chain company, and he started his career as a high school math teacher. So that was the first time I ever had a high school math teacher, someone who started in that field, end up in the supply chain logistics realm. But I think it just goes to show you how, there's many different paths to this industry. And in his case, he brought his math skills and knowledge of math into the whole data analytics side of things, which is, as you know very well, is, becoming a more and more critical, important part of this industry. But we've had others that have come in more from a business side or more from a marketing side. Engineers have always is a popular path into this industry. And again, engineers, what do? We problem solve, right? That's kind of the core skill that we have. And there's certainly there's no shortage of problems and challenges in the supply chain logistics industry, as particularly over the past couple of years, as we've seen. So it's great, it's a great foundation, to bring to this industry. So again, I guess to me, I just love listening to those stories and how people get into this industry.
Oh, yeah, it's really interesting. When we go through that one question, it's usually about a 10-minute discussion, because they're all really unique and interesting. And it really gives you a good breadth of, how this person actually got started in this beautiful industry in logistics and supply chain. Now, looking at this year that we're in, 2021, and looking at our past year, going through the pandemic and everything, What do you see coming forward here in the next coming months or the rest of this year?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I think gosh, there's so much going on, as is always the case with this industry. I mean, I think one of the things that we learned, certainly, if you look back the past year or so, I think the key takeaway for me, and I've written about this on the blog, is that I think companies learned, and many of them the hard way, that you can't run your business anymore like it's still 1999, right? And what I mean by that is, companies that were not digitized, companies that were still, relying mainly on Excel spreadsheets, or, had outdated systems that were on premise, had a hard time working remotely, so on and so forth. I mean, I think those companies really were challenged, obviously, in 2020, whether it was because they were forced to work from home but couldn't get full access to the data and the applications that they needed, or they were hit with, it was feast or famine last year. Either your business slowed down to a crawl, or in some cases, they spiked like never before, and you had to respond to that huge increase in demand. And if you didn't have the right systems in place to handle that, again, it was very, very challenging. So along with everything else from last year, I mean, we saw the acceleration of e-commerce and digital transformation became big. You saw, obviously, for obvious reasons, the spotlight returning to supply chain risk management and resiliency. And some of the things have been kind of the ripple effect that we're still seeing today. I mean, when I talk to a lot of companies, and I talk to a lot of supply chain logistics professionals, transportation is top of mind yet again, because of the constraints that they're facing, and increased rates. And it's across the board. I mean, it's just about every mode is experiencing some kind of challenge, whether it's congestion at the ports, lack of trucking capacity and increased rates, or having to go out to the spot market more, even parcel. I mean, there's capacity constraints in parcel. I mean, who would have thunk? But again, with all the increase in demand that we saw over the past year, now it's a situation where the parcel carriers themselves are becoming more selective, and there just isn't enough capacity out there to meet the needs. I think moving forward, I mean, I think, obviously COVID, we've here in the States, at least, it seems like we've turned one corner. Things are obviously better than they were a year ago, but I think, there's going to be lingering risks and uncertainty with COVID. So we'll see how that continues to play out for the rest of this year. One of the things that I think is kind of concerning, and we've seen it in the news just this week again, is cyber attacks. This is something that I wrote about a few years back, but I think this is a growing risk for supply chains, right? What if, right? Cyber attackers take down the Port of Long Beach? What if they take down the operations of a major railroad? Right here in Massachusetts today, right now, there was in the news that, hackers have disrupted the ferry service between, the mainland and the Cape. So that's creating some issues. But what if that happens on a much broader scale? And we've already seen some of these big, attacks. I think that we're still going to continue to see challenges in transportation for the balance of this year. China, that's another thing. I mean, before COVID, everyone was talking about China tariffs and kind of how that was going to change, or what impact that was having on global supply chains. Well, that hasn't gone away. I mean, the China tariffs are still there. The impact is still there. And, even though we have a new administration, there's still, I'll say, the difficulties between the relationships between China and the U.S. So that's something that I think supply chain professionals need to keep, a look at. And, the last bit is, we've seen a lot of continued investment in this industry. VCs, private equity, mergers and acquisitions, both on the technology side as well as the logistics service provider side. So I think we're going to continue to see a lot of activity in that area. More mergers and acquisitions, more blurring of the lines, if you will, between logistics service providers and technology companies. I think I've written many times before that today, you look at some logistics service providers or companies that you've historically called logistics service providers, and in many ways they look more and act more like a technology company than actually a logistics services company. So I think these industries are going to continue to merge, or the lines between them are going to continue to blur, and so it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next year or so, as again investors continue to invest in this area because they're very bullish in the future of supply chain logistics.
Yeah, I hear you. And great points. You really need to lock down that supply chain security for the IT threat, right? I mean, that's so vital. And if you're not paying attention to that, you're going to be in trouble. All right, someone takes over your whole system, and then also the whole imbalance, right? And the demand and the growth that we're having. Like this is crazy. It's actually amazing the growth that we're having. Listen, with everything that you're up to, who you are as an individual, I just have to acknowledge you. You are inspiring. I want to be like you and have that many podcasts and being that so influential. Fantastic, Adrian. I mean, with Adelante, with the talking logistics
Dago.
Indago. Thank you, because I keep going Indigo. Indigo is the name I'm thinking. So Indigo. Say that one more time.
Indago. It's
Indago.
I have a knack for picking names, brand
I've got
names
you.
that are a little bit, Adelante,
I
is it
got it.
Adelante or is it Adelante? Indago is actually, it's derived from the Latin word that means to research, to uncover.
Oh,
So that's how Indago came about.
Indago. Okay, yeah, good. So I'll tell you, I gotta like keep that going because I got some reference on that now. So that's great. I like to meet market research. Like to learn more. Send me a survey. Love to hear more about it. And then, how do people get a hold of you and learn more about you?
Well, obviously they could connect with me on LinkedIn. So you can search for me there and connect with me there. On the Talking Logistics website, you can, reach out, there's a contact form there. So you can reach out, that via that way as well.
Awesome. Listen, today was fantastic. I really appreciate you joining us and taking your time and spending some time with us today. Thank you so much. And for all of you, join us next week as we have another side by side. And really, thank you. God bless you guys. I hope you guys are having a good week as we're coming from Massachusetts and Scottsdale, Arizona. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.